Hey guys, good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Generation Old School. If it is your first time passing by my channel, my name is William, and in today's video, I'm teaming up with my friend Ilo from Super Car Rooms Miami to show you guys this amazing car collection that he's got. One-of-a-kind motorcycle, one-of-a-kind rat rod. You guys are gonna like this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe, follow Ilo on social media at Super Car Rooms Miami, and follow us as well, Generation Old School.
So I'm gonna basically introduce you to a very special car. This is a one of one. This is a 1932 Bucciali TV32. Bucciali are two brothers. They were called the Bucciali brothers, and they were originally from Italy. But you imagine in the 30s, the happening place to be in the world was France. So they moved over to France and they got themselves an investor, a very rich lady who had just had her husband pass away, invested in this guy's dreams. And they built more or less a car a year from 1929 to 1932. This is a Bucciali TV32, which means 1932. And this is a car that is a one of one in the world, meaning it is absolutely an important creation. It's not a Ford, it's not a Chevy, it is a car built in France. They were very well known for doing the very first front-wheel drive cars, but then later on changed into doing rear-wheel drive cars. These were hand-built coachworks. Gorgeous. It's a 4-seater or 5-seater sedan, but it's super luxurious. It's as if you were owning, guess what? A Rolls Royce. This was the competition. But unfortunately, because of the market and the Great Depression, the company died. And this is absolutely a one of one, gorgeous. I mean, it's in its own line, it's just one of the most beautiful creations built in France. Think about it. If the Bucciali brothers were still in business today, they'd probably be like the Ducati, or maybe, I would say, guess what? The Bugatti family. They were also a French family, but not really French, Italian family, moved to France in Molsheim, and this is exactly the same. This car is absolutely stunning. It's a 4-seater configuration, and the interior is absolutely all luxurious. It's got an 8-cylinder motor in it, and it's got air ride, so she sits flat on the floor, and it's one of my favorite cars in my collection. So, welcome to what I call the road art car of the 30s. Well, I'm sitting on a beautiful concept 2020 Henne Guido all-electric motorcycle. Isn't this insane? Just look at this. Speechless. I'm sure you're looking at it thinking, oh my God. Let me tell you what. This is a one of one Henne Guido motorcycle. It was built as a concept bike to show the artistry of Henne as a bike manufacturer. This company is actually based out of Russia, and they've just branched out to the US. They build incredible motorcycles. This came to our show L'Automobile. I fell in love with it, and I decided it's gotta come to the supercar rooms. So she's right now, pride of place at the supercar rooms. The wheel on the front is a 28-inch wheel. It's fully electric. It sits proud. It's on air ride. So when you lift it, she goes up. She's got one twist for acceleration and one twist to brake. One twist for acceleration and one twist to brake. And that's all you need. It's got a really beautiful halo light in the front and a brake light in the back. That is just pieces of road art. I'm sure you agree. Well, this car needs no introduction because this is the one car in my collection that broke the internet. Behind me is a 1968 Lamborghini Espada Ratrod, the only Lamborghini Ratrod in the world. And it's a one of one, built by a very incredible gentleman called Danton Customs in France. This is a road art piece. It is incredible in all shapes and form. It has its original V12 motor from Lamborghini. It has its original body, its original chassis. It even kept the four-seater configuration inside the car. You could see Espadas were four-seat configured cars, and it kept that. All this artistry right here took days, months, years, and it kept the original right there gas tank of the Espada. This is the Espada Ratrod. This is a collaboration between Fabio Lamborghini, the Lamborghini family, and Danton Customs. And obviously, it's a pride of place. Right here, you can see the signatures here of Fabio. You can see the other signatures there of Danton, and also of my very good friend, Richard Rawlings, who kind of helped coordinate things there. So this is an amazing piece of road art. It's a one of one, and there isn't nothing else. Somebody best described this car the other day in an article. And he says, the only Lamborghini to live on the edge of insanity. Welcome to Danton Customs Lamborghini Espada Ratrod. So imagine in the 50s, the word on the street was racing. Italy was the center of the world when it came to race cars. Bugatti had just started doing amazing race cars in the 30s. And guess what? The Type 37, Type 35, Type 37. And that all went downhill because of the war. In 1947, Ferrari came in and said, I'm starting my own race team. Well, Maserati was also one of them. There you go. This is a 1957 Maserati 450S. It's an amazing car. It is what they call a birdcage racer. It's a tubular frame on an aluminum body all around. And very important, Maserati was the first company in the 50s in Europe to basically put a V8 motor in them. This is an absolute must, because back then a lot of companies were running V6s. And they were alienating everybody with this V8, to the point that they were disqualified from racing because people said they had 2 extra cylinders. The car itself weighs nothing, but it is a very simple drive it on Monday to Friday, race it on Saturdays and Sundays. It was what they call the gentleman racer. And it was very simple. A very simple key, a very simple switch, and a push button start. Right there. And there you go. It's called a Bacchetta because it didn't have a roof. And it was for those that had the money to go and play with cars. If you were a daredevil, you wanted to race cars, this would have been the type of car. By the way, I've got to point out that one of the greatest drivers of Formula One of all times, Juan Manuel Fangio, raced one of these cars. So when people look at it, it's a piece of history. It's one of 27 ever built. And it's an Accelerini that is just compared to none other. Accelerini is a term in Italy which shows hand-built small cottage volumes race cars. Right here is an amazing piece of road art. Again, I am all about things that emotionally move me. And this emotionally moved me when I went to an auction and I saw it there. I think I am the best, or maybe one of the best knowledgeable car guys in the world. I know of most of the brands that exist. But seeing this, I wasn't sure what it was. Well, what it turns out to be, it's an Opel custom one of one build. This was built for a very famous Italian singer to go do the Mille Miglia in. And it was built by an Accelerini company, and it's built on a, you know what? Opel. So it's an Opel car, which is back in the 1960s. There were hand-built coachworks, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It even has the little Brooklyn shields there for when you do speeds, when you're doing the rally. And it entered the Mille Miglia, and it was one of the most beautiful cars ever built. And I fell in love with it. It's a one of one, and it's just unique. It's got a small motor in it, a 1.3 liter Opel motor, but it's super light. it's nothing else but just what it is. It is a beautiful one-of-one Opel Accelerini. Out of all my cars, there is one car that I absolutely super proud of, and this is obviously the Stallion. Now, it's not any ordinary Stallion. This is the Ferrari 196 SP ATL car number 11. Absolutely incredible. Now, a quick story about this car. If you think about it, in the 50s, Enzo Ferrari was the king of car racing. But his son, Alfredino Ferrari, wanted to race. Now, his father was racing Testarossas in that period. And the father didn't want the son and him to enter into the same class. So the father, Enzo, said, Dino, go build yourself a race car. But it has to be a 6-cylinder race car. That's what daddy tells, so that daddy doesn't have to compete with son, right? So Alfredino Ferrari set out to build 196 SPs. 196 was because they were one of the most eclectic, small, and very misunderstood race cars. Now, the beautiful part about this car, it has the Dino motor in it. And most people see the 12 spark plugs and believe it's a 12-cylinder car. No, it's not. It's actually 2 spark plugs per cylinder, which is absolutely ingenious, because back then, if you think about it, if you have 1 spark, you only have 1 ignition. If you have 2 sparks, so it's kind of like a twin spark, and it's just insane for what it was. It is, again, an Accelerini, ATL bodied over a tubular chassis, all aluminum body, and it's in its juice. You see all the cracks and everything on it. It's in its juice. It is absolutely one of my most prized possessions and one of the most beautiful cars I've ever had the chance of owning and actually driving. Now, I want to take you back to the same era, because in the 50s, all these car companies were competing against each other. Ferrari was king of the road when it came to car racing, and Alfa Romeo, prior to the war, was king of the road. And as a matter of fact, a very important fact that people do not realize, Ferrari was the head of the Scuderia Alfa team before Ferrari branched out and being his own brand. So Alfa Romeo in 1952 decided to build a car that would go and rival Ferrari. So they put the engineers to work, and this amazing piece of absolutely beautiful sculpture was born. This is called the Disco Volante. And the Disco Volante, they only built 5 prototypes. This is one of the 5. This is how rare this is. And the 5 prototypes were tested, and the very first test run, one crashed. Now, it's ironic that it crashed, but the reason it crashed, it was because they made it like a flying saucer. They wanted to have 0 drag and absolutely amazing efficiency when it came to driving through the wind. But it also created lift. So this beautiful design and all this amazing curvature here actually creates a lift. And it became very unsafe. So in 1952, Alfa Romeo pulled off all the cars off the racing track, and they became just pieces of road art. Only 5 existing in the world. They're fitted with a 1.9 Alfa Romeo motor, which is right there, and it's just exquisite. One of my most favorite design cars ever. Obviously, with a fitting name called the Disco Volante, it looks like a flying saucer. So, back again in the 50s. I love that era, huh? I wish I was actually born in the 50s. No, I was born in the 70s. But long story, the Ducati brand is synonymous with winning Grand Prix, MotoGPs. And why? Because when Ducati was actually manufactured back in the 40s and 50s, late 40s, early 50s, they wanted to win all the races, and they did. Well, in 1954, this Ducati came into the market. It's a very special Ducati, because it has the Biabro system, which is like the twin spark, and it's one cylinder but two sparks on them. It's exactly the same as the Ferrari, which meant it had double ignition on one piston, which gave it more downforce, and double exhaust releases. So it was one of the most beautiful pieces of engineering that today you see everywhere, but Ducati were the first to do it. They won everything there was to win with this bike, and it was so beautifully built and so simple that it's just a piece of road art genius. It is probably the most expensive bike I have in my collection, apart from that bike there, which is a concept bike. But with reference to winning, this is just a piece of amazing road art. So, you all remember the movie Swordfish. Well, this is the car that was in Swordfish. People have been asking all these years, what car was that? What car was that? Well, it's a small British brand called TVR. And they built a car called the Tuscan, and in the movie, they actually flew in a Tuscan from England, used it in the movie, and it became a national hit in the US. Unfortunately, the cars were never sold for US consumption because it's a very unique design. And it's the only car in the world to not have a back bumper. It has zero back bumper, and because of US laws, we could not have this car legal in the US. But it has a bunch of other really important, nice tricks. Unlike the back bumper, I'll show you here. Let's see if that's open. There is no support, no frame that holds the back. So in case somebody hits you from the back, this would all fold right up to the wheels. And because of that, it never made US grade for it to be imported and sold. But there's certain other features about this car that is absolutely important. It's the only car that I know that does not have a hood that opens up. You have to unbolt the hood. Instead, if you need to put water or maybe just oil in your car, all you need to do is pop over the little hood here. And this is your 3 bits that you need to put the water there. I think oil there, water here, and oil here, somewhere like that. But it's one of the most beautifully designed cars ever. It was pride of place at l'Automobile Show, and it's one of my most beautiful cars that I've actually owned in my collection. Now, there was only 2 gold cars ever built. This is one of 2, but there were over, I would say, 4,000 or 5,000 ever built. But a lot of them have not survived. It's also a convertible T-top, so this will come off, that will come off, and it will be completely open, so you can drive it as a roadster of some sort, okay? Well, in front of me, you all know it, you all recognize it, it's a Jeep. But it's no ordinary Jeep. This is a Jeep that we actually built at the London Motor Museum to commemorate the wall between Mexico and the US. So I went to a show at SEMA, I saw a car like this, slammed, hot rodded, and I fell in love with it, but on the side of it, it had a star, and it said, keeping Mexicans out of the US. So I decided to build the opposite for the other side of the border. So I built El Capitan by London Motor Museum, and it's actually keeping US citizens out of Mexico. So no more tequila for you boys. This is your patrol car. So this is basically El Capitan Policía Federal, you can see right here. It has a bunch of custom bits. It has its gun cartridge there, the gasoline goes there, the ammo runs over there, and it's really a rat rod, hot rod. And one of the most beautiful things, oh, it's got its water here in case you need to drink water, but you know, somebody must have left it there. But one of the most beautiful things is I didn't want to keep it with a V8. I didn't want it to have a V8 motor because I thought it would be actually cool to keep it all British. So the chassis is of a Scimitar GTE, and the engine is a 3-liter Ford SX V6. And it basically pushes approximately 200 brake, but that's enough for what I need it to be. It's a cool car to have, it's a cool car to run, and it's absolutely cool to basically do the border patrol. And it's right-hand drive. Isn't that badass? Okay. Come on, Bolt, I'm working. Behave. So right here is a very special car. You must have seen this car in movies before. And guess what movie? Fast and Furious 5. This is the truck that actually stole the tanker in Brazil. As they were driving down, they kind of did a U-turn, reversed, latched onto the tanker, and you can get that and add this to this clip because this is the truck. This is a gorgeous truck. I turned it into a bar truck. This is the color in the movie, and I kind of wrapped it in white. So you could see it now in white, but it's original truck from the movie Fast and Furious 5. And I've made this into our bar. So this is where our bar is. You can see our TVs here. Our DJ goes up there. And I've kind of used this as the head truck to trailer my most expensive item of all, the booze bar, okay? So supercar rooms, we like having really interesting cars. Again, we have the Fast and Furious truck pulling the absolute ultimate members bar. That's how we run. So right here is a 1963 Autobianchi Bianchina. Now, you got to think about it. In the 60s, in Italy and in France and in Germany and in England, it was all about building microcars. They wanted to build cars for the population to move. They needed economy to come back. They'd just gone through the Second World War, and it was all about building and boosting the economy. So this company called Autobianchi decided to build the only car at that time, a micro car that was actually a real motor car. And when I mean a real motor car, it has a trunk, it has a cabin, and it has a hood. Now, you could probably look at all this paintwork and think, what's this? I'll tell you what it is. This is my kid's fingerprints, okay? When I bought this car, and that's my other kid, the dog barking right there. So when I bought this car, it was very important that my kids were part of my passion. So they all said, Daddy, we want to help you paint it. So I decided to give them different paints, and I put your hands in the paint, and they put their hands in the paint, and they just painted it. Shush it, please. I'm working, Bolt. Behave. Okay, so this is a very beautiful car because it's very simple. It is as simple as you can get. 4 seats. It's 4 adults. Back in the day, used to have 4 adults would sit in that car and be taken to church, okay? But it's actually beautiful because it's a 1-liter car. Actually, no, it's a 600cc car with a 4-speed manual transmission, okay? And it's very simple. The paint is one of the most beautiful things. One of my daughters at the time, she was only 6 years old, named the car Handy Written because she wrote it with her hand. And I've always loved it because it kind of connects me with my family and my daughters and the passion of what I do. Obviously, to end the video, I'm gonna end it with something you've probably never seen one before till I got here in Miami. Well, this is an ETV, extraterrestrial vehicle, built by a gentleman called Mike Vetter up in Mico, Florida. And he built this cars because he actually thought it would be a great movie car. And the cars actually appeared in so many clips, videos, commercials. And it's actually, if in case extraterrestrial people existed, this is what they will drive. This is functional. These are actually kind of when you drive at certain speeds, they would turn and they would charge your battery. It's electric. The doors are suicide. They go up and it's a suicide door. And it's just a gorgeous looking car. It's been pride of place in both my museum in London and here. And it's one of the most talked about cars ever. It's called the ETV, extraterrestrial vehicle.
Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like always, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and follow me on social media at Generation Oldschool. You can also follow my friend Elo at Supercar Rooms Miami. Thank you, and thank you Elo for giving me the opportunity to film your beautiful car collection and this awesome place that you have in Miami.